Okay, Michael Wheaton's up. He says, "Hey guys, I just finished the Local Lease Pro course. Fantastic course. A plus one that. It truly is a business in a box. There is one thing I'm a little fuzzy on though. If I am leasing a GMB in the 3-pack to a client with a call center answering service and I agree to rebrand it to match their branding, what happens to the literally hundreds of citations that will no longer reflect the change in branding? Do they have to be updated as well? If so, what's the best way to manage that? Outsourcing? Are there tools or services that will help locate all the citations out there so they can be updated? Thanks much." Yes. Okay, Michael, that's a great question. So I'm going to be doing an update webinar in November for local GMB, local Lease Pro buyers. I'm going to do an update webinar in November, and we can address that. That's a really good question. But so that's part of the reason why I typically, that's one of the last things I do is order citations, and it's typically only if I need to, because what as shown in the training, the specific method that I do, but primarily the press release is one of the things that I use to push it into the 3-pack. If you've done your research correctly, as shown in the training, you should be finding opportunities that are likely going to rank into the 3-pack with just the minimal amount of work that I show in the training. Press releases being primarily the only off-page thing that I do. I mentioned doing citations because it does help, and especially once you have a service provider in place. That's why I'm saying, what I'm saying about rebranding is I typically wait to build traditional citations, which are business directory listings, until after I found a service provider and established a relationship, which could be a month or 2 or 3, where I'm sending them leads and they're paying on time, or whether it's on whether they're leasing the property or they're paying on a pay per lead basis. However the arrangement is I have with them. Once I've become comfortable with them, we've established a good working relationship, then I will offer to them to rebrand. That might be used in the pitch initially, by the way, when I offer to lease them the asset or whatever. I might tell them, hey, look, once we've established a good working relationship, I'm happy to rebrand it. But we need to make sure that, we need to go through a probationary or a trial period. And I'll say, 90 days or 3 months or 6 weeks or whatever it may be, depending on how I feel about that particular contractor when I'm pitching them, right? So once that time has elapsed and the good working relationship has been established, then I will think about rebranding. And if there's no citations out there, like traditional citations, which would be business directory listings, and all it really has been pushed in there with, or I've gotten results from, was the press release and then the GMB posts, which is critical, right? Those are in my opinion, the 2 most critical things initially. Then we can rebrand it, and no citations have been built. And from that point forward, you can start building citations, which, by the way, you'd have a paying contractor or service provider at that point, which you can set up the monthly citation subscription, which is what I highly recommend. So I would, I would initially wait, and I'll talk about all this in the update webinar, because some of these questions have been coming through in various, groups and PMs and stuff like that. And so I want to address these commonly asked questions, and I certainly will. But again, I would recommend waiting on citations, traditional citations, until after you've got a service provider in place. Now, that said, what if you've already built a GMB asset and you've already built a bunch of citations using the generic or pseudo business name, right? Whatever your mock name is for that business until you get a service provider. Well, you can still rebrand because remember, 99% of any leads generated from that brand is going to be from the GMB asset itself. It's going to be because it was found in search or maps by most likely, more often than not, mobile device users. It's not from Yelp. It's likely it's not from Yelp. It's not from Yellow Pages and Angie's List and all the other business directories that you might have citations on. They're finding you from Google. Like, let's just be honest, right? That's where they're finding you. So what you can do is rebrand the cover image and the images on the GMB website with the client's logo, and the client's, like, it would be the client's logo, but it would still be your website address and your phone number, right? Because so that you can track all it's your stuff. You wouldn't put like their phone number on your GMB asset. You would just rebrand it with images, and you can do that by changing the cover photo. And so, for example, let's just use this. Let's say my pseudo company name is Atlanta Plumbing Pros. Okay, let's just say it's Atlanta Plumbing Pros, and then Joe's Plumbing, who happens to be a plumber in Atlanta, he decides he wants to secure or rent my assets, my GMB assets that I have in the Atlanta area. So what I would do is, instead of replacing Atlanta Plumbing Pros with Joe's Plumbing as the name on the listing, if I'd already had a bunch of citations built to that particular listing, what I would do is just rebrand the images, the photos, the GMB website header, cover photo, right? The profile photo with their logo. I would just put basically all of their branding across the images. And then I might even make a mention on the GMB website about, formerly, or in this case, what I say, Atlanta Plumbing Pros, Atlanta Plumbing Pros is now being serviced by Joe's Plumbing or something like that. I might put that on there. But remember, guys, nobody's reading the damn text on the GMB websites. The only reason why you put that there is for SEO, right? It's not because anybody that needs a plumber isn't going to go read the website text. They're just going to go to Google and search, plumbing repair or water, drain cleaning or something like that, whatever, Atlanta, and boom, you show up and they're going to call that number. That's it. Okay. So it was a great question, Michael. This is something we're going to cover much more in depth in the update webinar next month. I've got some other stuff I'm going to be sharing in that webinar about some other things that I've been testing for getting results out of these, especially for the ones that don't push into the 3-pack right away. That's kind of what we're going to be going into, some more advanced training to push that stuff into the 3-pack. And guys, it'll be free for anybody that bought the course. That webinar will be. And mastermind members too, obviously. It's a great question though, Michael. But yeah, I recommend waiting on the citations, guys, until after you get a service provider. It just makes it easier that way.